Okay, this is our first review of the year. What I've decided to do, because there are about 40 pages of my notes in this topic, which is, I don't know how many that'll be of yours, but that's quite a few. Usually a test hits about 20 some pages. This just happens to be a long one. So I really try to think how to make things, more convenient for you and better for you learning-wise. So I got thinking last night, that's a long time to lecture and then do one big test, especially your first one. So we're going to break it up into Moving Towards Independence Part 1. So when we test on Part 1 tomorrow, we will not go back and test on that material again. We'll test on Part 2 and move on, okay? So once you test on this, you'll be done, okay? So we'll start over here with Alexa, and we'll ask this question. Who was the first person to anticipate Great Britain's problems in maintaining the American colonies? Count. You might not know how to pronounce it, but you better know how to spell it tomorrow. Count Verzane, okay? And that's why we put it on your ID sheet. So I would expect that to be spelled correctly tomorrow. Count Verzane. I guarantee you that question will be on the test tomorrow. Guaranteed. Okay? So just like every one I'm going to ask you. Okay, the second question tomorrow is going to be, name the 4 major problems Great Britain was forced to deal with in governing their vast empire across the world. Before I ask McKenna to give me one of those, I want to preface that by saying I'm looking for the reasons, not the examples. There's a difference. Now, when you get later in this class, I'll probably ask you name the 4 major problems Great Britain was forced in dealing and governing their empire and give an example of each. But I'm not looking for examples now, I'm looking for reasons. So, McKenna, give me one of the 4 major problems Great Britain was forced to deal with in governing their empire.
They had 4 leaders.
Okay, see, so she's given an example there too, isn't she? What I'm really looking for is weakness of British leaders. That's the reason. Now, the fact that they were not well educated is an example, but I'm not going to ask you for examples tomorrow. I'm going to ask you for the reasons, okay? Julie, can you give me the second reason why they had a hard time governing their vast empire? Okay.
The future of Florida and Canada.
Okay, the future of Florida and Canada. That's all you have to put. The example would be that they had a hard time governing those Spaniards and French men or women. Okay, but that's not what I'm asking tomorrow. I'm just asking for the problem. So the future of Florida and Canada would be exactly right. Sully, what would be another one?
They had a big need for new taxes.
Okay, the need for new taxes. I'm not asking you why, I'm just asking you what it is. And what's the last one there? Mackenzie? Okay, the Western lands. So you see I'm giving you a little bit of break, because in a normal situation I would say list all 4 and give me an example of one. We're just kind of breaking you in here. So the question will be, name the 4 major problems Great Britain was forced to deal with in governing their vast empire across the world. That's the question. Okay, here will be the next question for Elise. Concerning the Western lands, give one reason for Pontiac's conspiracy. Why was there a conspiracy among the Ottawa Indians? Give me one reason why.
I have like all the notes, but I don't know.
Well, you got. I will guarantee you have it there.
Like, why was there conspiracy?
Why? Yeah. Why was there Pontiac's conspiracy? Give me one reason. There might be more than one. Give me one.
Was it like because the bands had, or the tribes were banded together?
Well, that wasn't why they had. Why did the tribes band together? Is what I'm looking for. What made them come up with a banding together, getting under the leadership?
Because the settlers, they were worried about like the settlers coming in and taking their land, weren't they?
Yeah, but see, now you got to remember that we're looking for a little detail. That's why I'm teaching this. They were concerned about the settlers coming and taking their land where? Where was their land?
West of the Appalachian.
Very good. So there you go. So one of the reasons why there was Pontiac's conspiracy is the Ottawa Indians. You can't put they, because they doesn't make any sense to Mr. Riedel who's reading this. Okay? You would say the Ottawa Indians were concerned about settlers moving to their lands west of the Appalachians. Meg, what might be another reason we had Pontiac's conspiracy?
Because when the settlers were moving west, they still like their religious right.
Well, that'd be kind of the same thing, but that's so come up with a different reason. Why else were they mad? It'd be the good way to put it, maybe. Why else were they mad, Meg? Why else did they band together? Just because the settlers were moving westward? There were other reasons why they were mad. What were they? Give me one more.
I don't know.
That's not a very good answer. That
I know
never
it's
gets
not a good
counted.
answer.
I've never once in my career counted credit for I don't know. Rachel, you're thinking too hard, all of you. Go ahead.
So another reason why
Why they had why there was a Pontiac's conspiracy?
they feel like the British weren't going to do
About what? Now you're just,
anything. About the settlers.
no, we already got the settlers now, but there's other reasons they're mad other than the settlers were moving west of the Appalachians. Why else were they mad? Emily?
Because they were gathering rifles and
Yeah, they were gathering rifles and the British would not give them any ammunition. That was another reason they were mad.
How many examples did you want again?
Oh, again, I said just ask one.
Just one, but
But
you're
I mean-
here.
But I want to, okay, Andrew, what's another reason they were mad?
Is the high prices of trade.
High prices with trading, very good. The British, and to be detailed so a person would understand that, you'd say the Ottawa Indians were upset because the British were charging them higher prices when trading. Okay, Andy, is there another one, the reason that why they were mad? Can you think of any others?
I just said that it's just they resented the British government as well.
Why they resented because they would not listen. Well, I'm just going to leave it at those three. Okay.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, they didn't listen to it, but we'll leave it at those three. Now, again, the question is going to be, kiddos, concerning the Western lands, give one reason for Pontiac's conspiracy. Do you feel like in the future I may ask for two,
Yeah.
or maybe three, but we're going to ask for one tomorrow, okay? All right, Charles, my man, name two of the three reasons why King George III was an ineffective leader of Great Britain. Two of the three reasons.
He was stubborn.
Stubborn. Give me another one, Dayton.
Parliament went along with whatever he said.
Not Parliament so much.
The councilors or
Okay, what are they called? Think of preachers. Men.
ministers.
His ministers did what?
They went along with whatever he said with no criticism.
Okay, a better way to word that would be that they were more interested in pleasing him than doing what was best for the government. Okay? Is there another reason, Rylan, why he was an ineffective leader? Another reason you can think of, maybe? Somebody kind of mentioned it a little bit back, and I said, no, you're thinking too hard. Anybody think of another reason why he was an ineffective leader? Go ahead, Emily. Lack of education. Very good. Yep, lack of education. So the question's going to be, name two of the three reasons why King George III was an ineffective leader of Great Britain. One is he was stubborn. Two, he was not that well educated. And three, his ministers were more interested in pleasing him than doing what was best for the country. We're asking for two of the three. Brian, who did Great Britain name as Prime Minister in 1763 that took measures to put the country on solid financial foundations?
Who was the main prime minister?
Yeah.
George Grenville.
George Grenville. Very good. Okay, Josh, give me one of the two things the Proclamation of 1763 stated in the Western lands.
Where all settlers moved back east of the Appalachian Mountains.
Very good. And what was the other thing, Alexa, that the Proclamation of 1763 stated in the Western lands? Other than the settlers had to move from, notice how he worded that? They had to move from lands west of the Appalachians east. Don't say they had to move. That doesn't tell me where, okay? So what was the other reason? It was, who's them? See, there's the them word.
The Indian.
Okay, it reserves certain lands for the Indians in the western lands, namely their spiritual grounds and their hunting grounds. Okay, so the question is, on the test tomorrow, list the two things the Proclamation of 1763 stated in the western lands. The next question is going to be list the 4 groups of colonists that were resentful toward the Proclamation of 1763. McKenna, give me one.
Farmers.
Farmers. Julie, give me another one. Land speculators. Sully, another one.
Fur traders.
Fur traders, and the last one, my dear, merchants. Okay, the question will be, list the 4 groups. Does it say list the 4 groups and give me an example of why they were upset? No, that might come later, but this test just lists the 4 groups. Okay. Hey, Elise, here's the question. What were the 2 goals that Parliament hoped to accomplish with the passage of the Sugar Act of 1764? Give me one.
Raise money and protect U.S. colonies from foreign enemies.
Okay, to raise money to strengthen the military to protect the American colonies from foreign enemies. Raise money to strengthen the military to protect the American colonies. What was the other reason there, Meg?
To get the burden of having to pay all the taxes off of the Great Britain citizens.
Okay, or an easier way to say that might be to ease the tax burden on citizens of Great Britain. Okay, very good. Hey, Rachel, here's the question. Explain the difference between a direct tax levied by British Parliament and a direct tax levied by a colonial assembly.
The direct tax, the tax goes straight to Parliament, and then the taxes are
Yeah, but finish that. You got it exactly. Okay, she's got it exactly right. The taxes that are levied by the British Parliament go to the British Parliament, and the taxes levied by the Colonial Assembly go to the Colonial Assembly, because the tax goes to the entity or the organization that levied the tax. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, Emily, here's the question. As the result of their concern about smuggling, list the 4 steps. Now, normally when I say 4 steps, you have this step, then this step, then this step, then this step, so we kind of want them in order, right? So as a result of their concern about smuggling, list the 4 steps the British government took to keep smuggling under control. What was the first step?
They strengthened their naval patrol and started checking the ships.
Check, okay,
Checking the ships.
where? Well, where do ships come in when they come into a border? They come into a harbor. So the first thing they did is what again? Reword that. The British naval patrols checked ships coming into all American harbors. For what? Smuggled goods, okay? What was the second step then, Andrew, after that? What did British officials do?
They inspected warehouses.
They inspected warehouses. What's the third thing they did, Andy?
British officials searched private homes.
Search private homes. And the last thing they did, Charles?
They pay people to rat out their neighbors.
That they paid people right out the neighbors. So we'll want those in order. Okay, first one being the British patrols checked all ships coming into American harbors. Second then is British officials checked warehouses. Then they checked private homes, and they even paid people to rat out or snitch on their neighbors about smuggling. Okay, good. Whose turn is it? Okay. What was the name of the law passed by Parliament that forbid the use of paper money to pay taxes levied by the British Parliament?
The Currency Act of 1764.
And remember that, Currency Act of 1764. Okay, make sure you have that date. I'll talk about dates in a minute. Okay? Josh, what was the name of the law passed by Parliament requiring the colonists to provide barracks and supplies for British troops stationed in America?
The Quartering Act of 1765.
Very good. Quartering Act of 1765. Okay, Brian, here's the question. Give 2 examples of licenses that were taxed as a result of the Stamp Act of 1765. Give me one.
Newspapers.
Newspapers. Give me another one, Ryland.
Advertisement.
Advertising. Right back to you, Ryland. Give me another one.
All legal documents.
Okay, Brian, give me another one.
College diplomas.
Give me another one, Josh.
Playing cards.
Playing cards. We got lots of examples. The question is, give 2 examples of licenses that were taxed as a result of the Stamp Act of 1765. Okay? Peyton, why was Prime Minister George Grenville surprised when the colonists reacted angrily towards the Stamp Act of 1765?
Because he gave them 1 year to find an alternative.
Yeah, perfect answer. He gave them 1 year to find an alternative, and they didn't come up with one, right? Perfect. Charles, as a result of the Stamp Act, Congress, in October of 1765, what was the most important action the colonial merchants took? Most important action. I'll read that again. As a result of the Stamp Act, Congress, that was passed in October of 1765, what was the most important action the colonial delegates, not merchants, delegates took? Most important.
Stop trading with Great Britain.
Okay, they did, but that's very good, but what was that called? They signed what?
Non-importation agreement.
Non-importation agreements. That's what I'm looking for, because that's on your ID sheet. They signed non-importation agreements. Very good. Okay, Andy, here's the question. Give 4 examples of actions the Sons of Liberty took to protest the Stamp Act. Give me one.
They rioted in Washington.
Very good. Rachel, give me another one.
Destroyed stamp tax collectors.
Very good. Julie, come on, baby. All the way from Sweden. Give me another one.
They destroyed homes of British officers.
They destroyed houses of British officers or officials. Elise, give me another one.
They tarred and feathered the officials.
Well, no, not necessarily. They didn't tar and feather officials. Who'd they tar and feather, Elise? Those loyal to Great Britain. American colonists that were loyal to Great Britain. And what's the last thing they did, Andrew?
That's all I have.
That's all you have. Well, Meg's got another one.
That's all I have.
They burned the stamps in the streets.
Burn stamps in the
Oh,
streets.
So you want 4?
Yeah, the question will be, give 4 examples of actions the Sons of Liberty took to protest the Stamp Act. All right, there are 30 answers. They're all short answer questions. There are 30 answers. They are going to be worth 3 points apiece. So that'll be 90 tomorrow. Now, here's what we'll do. We will not meet in here tomorrow. We will be directly down in the Commons. You'll get not on the round tables, but you'll get on the square tables or rectangle tables. And you can go there and study for a few minutes if you want to in groups. When I come out and say divide or split up, then you'll get 2 to a table facing me. So it's always good to bring your notebook because I'm always going to give you a little time to study. However, sometimes I may say, hey, you can use your notes today, so it's really important you have your notebook. That will not be the case tomorrow, just so you know. Okay? Just telling you that right up front. Now, the only thing that'll be on the test is what we talked about today. That's it. Matter of fact, I read the test to you. That is the test. Okay? 30 short answers, 90 apiece. The rule is this. You'll all go down there. You'll study a little bit. I'll tell you to separate. You'll get 2 to a table. I will hand out the test. From the time the first test goes out until the last one comes in, no talking. If Elise is the first one to finish her test, she will bring it up and give it to me. She will come back to the classroom. You don't go back to your seat. You can go back and get your books or bring them up with you and then go to the classroom. Now we're back to the I do not trust easily, so when I tell you I trust you, please don't make me regret it. You're all on the I trust you realm right now, so I trust you to come back to the classroom and sit quietly, review your notes, whatever, until everybody gets back. I'll be the last one back because I'll come back with the last person. That's how it works. If I come back and everybody's not here or it's noisy, then we're going to have a problem. Okay, so you're just going to come back and set till everybody gets back. Now, if you have to go to the bathroom as you turn in your test, you can say, hey, Mr. Beer, is it okay if I run to the restroom before I, go back to the classroom, that's fine. Now, obviously, our little cell phone dippy whopper deal will not be out in the commons tomorrow, and you're not going to report here first. So I will remind you, when you have your cell phones in your pocket, which you probably will, to make sure they're silenced, because if they beep or buzz or are visible during the test, then you get a 0. Okay, so make sure. Now, Brian, I'm not sure the story on yours. I don't think you're going to want to turn yours off, but I'll trust that if it goes off, it's because you need a sugar candy or whatever goes on in that deal. And so we'll kind of go from there. So does everybody understand that, where we're at? Okay? All right, what we're going to do here quickly is I'm going to stop this review.